Let's fill up that bandwagon, baby. The Marlins Twitter bandwagon is back in action. The Marlins on the road, 4-game series in Washington, and they get the sweep. They are right back in the hunt as we head into early September. Tons to get into on Monday's episode of Locked On Marlins.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings from England. Welcome to Locked On Marlins. This is your daily Marlins podcast. I'm your host, Peter Pratt. Hit me up at Miami Marlins _UK. If you're listening to the pod, of course, hit subscribe. This is your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. There is a YouTube channel. Yes, there is. Everyone, I think, is now subscribed. If you are new to this bandwagon, head on over there and hit subscribe also. It is well named. It is named Locked On Marlins. Even on YouTube, hit subscribe there also. Guys, welcome to the Monday episode. Monday, the 4th of September. We're recording this on an off day after the Marlins have just had a 4-game sweep in Washington. This feels glorious. For those watching, you will see I have a guest. It is not the UK GOAT, Sean Barrett. No. Mike Anthony Valdez is in the house. A fish on first stud. A new stud to the stable there. Mike, how we doing, brother?
Good. Here from Fish on First internship. Just here to talk baseball, talk Marlins. You know, there's that running meme was like saying we're back after saying we were gone 2 seconds ago, and we're back, baby.
We're back. There we go. That's the end of the show, guys. That's all we need to say. We are back, baby. It was a necessary series. 4-game series, they're always hard to sweep. You would have taken a series win, but after losing those 2 against Tampa, it felt like they had to at least win it. But, a sweep was feeling kind of necessary against the team. The Marlins have played really well. What was your kind of main takeaways or assessments from that? That's a hard question to answer probably, but main kind of takeaway for you from this series?
I thought it was huge. After that Padres series, I kind of looked at the whole schedule as a whole. And I marked those 7 games against the Nationals, and I said, if we can get 4 out of those 7, I feel like that's good enough. And we got 5, even though we lost those first 2 back in Miami a few weeks ago. So getting 5 out of them and seeing the rest of the schedule, that's huge because these next few weeks are going to be just as hard.
Yeah, no doubt. I think for me, when I look back at this series, the one thing, clearly the Marlins have had a huge problem against starting pitching for it's felt like months. It's been just so tough against any starter. It doesn't matter who you are, but they found a way to struggle. In this series in particular, it felt like the Marlins, well, it didn't feel like it. They did. They scored early. I think they scored in every first inning of every game against the Nats. And, in some games kind of piled it on as well. So for me, it was the offensive the offense finally clicking. And, his name's listed in the rundown here for those watching. They got the graphics. But for me, Luis Arraez, listen, this offense has always run through Arraez. When he was hot earlier in the year, the Marlins were hot. He cooled off. The Marlins offense heavily cooled off. Arraez is back. Multi-hit days all over the show. For me, he needs to continue this. This is so critical to the Marlins, right? If, for them to actually push through in September and make this wild card, Arraez has to continue this kind of form, right?
Yep. But it's not, he's a great hitter, but we all know what happened. It was the reverse of the curse for Luis Arraez this weekend. He unblocked Peter Pratt, Marlins UK, and he flourished this week. But all jokes aside.
The stats don't lie. The stats do not lie, I must say.
But all due respect, he had a great week. Homer, singles up the middle, singles other way. The only thing that is scaring me is when he's running the bases. I don't know why he looks like he's hurt, but other than that, keep doing you, Louis. Just keep doing you.
You're so right, by the way, on the running, and I think yesterday it was it was like really obvious. And I feel like he had fouled a ball off the day before, maybe. So there was maybe like a kind of carryover from that. But, he's hitting this home run. he's running around the bases, and
Look like
he's
Kirk
running the
Gibson.
bases. Yeah, he looks like he's 75 running the bases. It's kind of worrying. And obviously, like when the Marlins traded for him, there was a lot of talk about, oh, he's got these kind of chronic knee issues, et cetera, et cetera. I wouldn't say we've kind of fully seen that, but it is a bit of a concern. Like from the eye test, you're looking at going, boy, oh boy, this doesn't look good. But he wants to be out there. He's out there, and frankly, the Marlins need him out there. So if he's fine, and it doesn't seem to be affecting him too greatly, then let's keep it rolling. Like with Soler missing too, I think that's the other thing to call out is this whole series. The Marlins managed to do this. Their 1-2 punch has been Arraez and Soler, but this time no Soler. So the other guys had to kind of pick it up. Arraez obviously the catalyst, and we'll talk about some of the other guys shortly. But for the Marlins holding Soler back, again, I'm never going to trust any Marlins player ever again when they come out post game after they've been taken out of a game and say, hey, I'm going to be back in there tomorrow. It never happens. It never does. Jazz did it. Trevor Rogers did it. I think Luzardo did it. Everyone says it, and then they're gone. And so we haven't seen him hit the IL, but and every day Skip Schumacher says the same thing. He's available to pinch hit. He's really close, but we didn't see Soler. But was this maybe the Marlins holding him back, thinking we've got bigger series to come here in the next kind of, next week or so against maybe some tougher opponents? Maybe we hold Sohoy Soler back for that series and just let him fully get right. I think that's probably at the core. What about you?
I think it was one of those, like, when we lose, we'll bring him back. I think that's what kind of
Yeah,
one of those things. Like, we'll wait until we lose. So at that point, you win the first 3. There's no point. Now this series, I'm hesitant to think he starts today, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did, or tomorrow. So maybe because of the day off, he does start tomorrow. Then, so we'll see though.
Yeah, it's I love that point. Like, we bring it back when we lose,
especially against Kershaw lefty.
Yeah, I think that's the bit is I'd be stunned if he doesn't start against Kershaw, like only because Soler has pretty much been the best hitter in baseball against lefties this year, by whatever kind of stats you want to look at. So if Soler isn't in there against Kershaw, then there is a bigger problem that the Marlins aren't really servicing at this point. But if that were to be the case, you would have expected him to have kind of gone onto the IL. But I guess with the rosters expanding, it's meant that maybe they can kind of keep Soler on a roster, not really kind of be impacted by it too much. And frankly, I don't really know who would come up anyway that would be, hugely valuable outside of what they've got. They've got Xavier Edwards that pretty much can play anywhere. They've got Birdie that can play anywhere. They've got Hampson that can play anywhere. You're probably not going to bring up a Peyton Burdick looking for a power hitter at this point, really. You'd probably just leave Soler just on the roster just to, when he's ready and he's right, get back out there. So I don't know. Yeah, I think that's a good point. Like with Kershaw going, you expect Soler to be out there, and I think the Marlins will absolutely need him against Clayton Kershaw. Boy, oh boy, that is going to be a tough ask for the Marlins, no doubt. Speaking of lefties, but not lefty pitchers, I want to talk about lefty hitter. I want to talk about Jesus Sanchez, because it's fair to say during this series, this became the Jesus Sanchez LMF revenge series. LMF, he's not buying any statistics. No matter which statistic you want to look at, he does not care. He does not rate Jesus Sanchez. However, both my eyes and the stats are telling me Jesus Sanchez has taken a massive step forward this year. And actually, probably he's been one of the only hitters since the All-Star break that has actually been hitting at an above average level. How impressed have you been with Jesus Sanchez this year?
Pete, I've been really impressed this year, because when he first came up, you saw the potential, and then I think the league kind of adjusted to him. Like they saw that, well, we just throw you fastballs up and you'll chase them. And then this year, spring training, we're getting excited, and then the start of the season was really bad, and then around that Arizona series, he kind of took off, and ever since he's been working the other way and working with Brant Brown, he's taken a real big leap. But what I've noticed a lot, he's actually been really good defensively. He's has an amazing arm. He's there's a little times where it looks like he's gonna drop him. I know that one. There was a sun ball, I think, on Sunday. Everyone was like, "No, he almost dropped it."
Yeah.
But he's been doing good defensively. I think last year playing center field kind of messed with him, and I think right field is his spot. And I think even when he's played left field, he doesn't hit as well. When he's penciled in the right field, batting 6 or 7, he's going to be playing good for the Marlins.
Yeah, absolutely. He's definitely solidified that spot over in right field. I think. Do you know what it is with Jesus Sanchez? It's the fact that there hasn't been quite as much power in terms of home run production. I think that's maybe the reason why we're kind of thinking, is Jesus Sanchez really, is he really kicked on? But actually, when you take a step back and actually dig into the numbers, you realize he's just much more of a more rounded hitter at this point than he ever was. He can always run into a home run, and he always did historically, but that was at the behest of nothing else, just strikeouts galore. And right now, Jesus Sanchez is fundamentally a different hitter than he was last season, and probably at the start of this year. Let's not forget, many people, myself included, were saying that there's a good chance Jesus Sanchez is a potential DFA candidate when we were in the early parts of the roster. Skinny Avi was back. We were working out how's this roster going to shake out. Jazz was in the outfield, but boy, oh boy, Jesus Sanchez has put a statement in this year and saying basically, I'm the right fielder for the foreseeable. And I don't think anyone can argue with that apart from LMF, I guess.
Yeah, it is what it is. Some people just don't have a kind of like that's not their flavor. It's not their type of ice cream. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. But it's crazy to say that how he's become this contact oppo hitter. And then how Brian De La Cruz has adapted now, where he's kind of swinging for the fences a lot more than he used to. So they kind of like flip flopped their approaches over the year, which has kind of been weird to see. But I'd like that Brian had a good game and a better series, and hopefully both of them start getting hot in the corners.
Those two, they seem to like go in tandem. Just in general, like in life, I think they're just in tandem, but equally like they kind of get hot and cold at exactly the same time. It feels like, and I mean, you saw in that game 3 in the Nat series, both of them in the same game with 3-run bombs, and so that kind of testifies it. And listen, when Sanchez is hitting, you got that smile on his face. It's it's Sparkplug there, and Brian De La Cruz as well. Like when these guys get rolling, like this Marlins offense just is so much so much longer than just Arraez and Soler and a couple of other guys. So it's we need him to get hot though and stay hot. It's a tough month ahead. The schedule definitely in the next couple of weeks is really tricky, and then kind of maybe gets a little bit more let's say favorable for the last couple of weeks when maybe the hunt is really on. But we'll talk about that shortly. But before we do that, time to let you know about our good friends over at Nutrafol. Yes, sir. And I mean, listen, you don't have to choose between better hair growth and your health. Nutrafol provides a whole body health approach for men that promotes healthier hair. No drugs, no compromises, just better hair. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist. It always catches me, that one. Dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement. Clinically shown to improve your hair growth. Visible thickness. I'm thinking of Jesus Aguilar all of a sudden. And visible scalp coverage. Nutrafol's hair growth supplements use physician-formulated, natural, science-backed ingredients. Their drug-free, patented technology provides consistent, reliable results without compromising your sexual health. Boy, oh boy, I'm glad that's in there. Get yourselves over to Nutrafol.com/men to take their hair health wellness quiz. Identify causes of your thinning hair, and Nutrafol will give you a personalized plan for better hair health through whole body wellness. All right, take the first step to visibly thicker, healthier hair. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com/men and enter the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Find out why over 4,000 healthcare professionals recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com/men. That's spelled Nutrafol.com/men and enter that promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Whew. All right, baby. That took me in a few different directions I did not expect, but you are joining myself, Peter Pratt, and Mike Anthony Valdez on Locked On Marlins, Monday, the 4th of September. The Nats have been swept, and the Marlins are in the hunt. Mike, when I woke up this morning, I realized the Marlins were tied for a wild card spot. This is a fun race. And I mean, I kind of tweeted about it a few days back, just saying, I've loved this additional wildcard spot being added, wildcard 3, for mid teams. And some would kind of look at it that way, going, listen, this is just a battle of mid teams. It's fine. But this race is going to be so intriguing. And let's be honest, there's some big teams in there. The Marlins are probably not the biggest of, but like the Giants, the Cubs in the mix, the Diamondbacks. Who else we got in there? We got Cincinnati in there as well. The Reds. God, I can't forget the Reds. But this is the reason for this third wild card is to keep just more teams in it, and it creates this type of battle. But just overall, right now, how are you feeling about the wild card and the Marlins? I guess chances of making it. Fangraphs maybe has them, I don't know, 20, 25% of making this this postseason. Where do you kind of sit on this at this point?
Right now, obviously, I'm the biggest Marlins fan, but second, as of today, September 4th, I am the biggest Chicago Cubs fan.
Yeah.
Because they hold not only their own destiny, but kind of our own destiny as well. Right now they're playing the Giants, and they're beating the Giants currently. And then they play, I think, a 3-game set against the Diamondbacks right after this. And then they go Milwaukee, Cincinnati, maybe one more time. They play everyone that is on top of us. So, if they win, they're helping us win as well if we take care of our business. So I'm watching the Cubs. And then another thing is, if the Padres help us this week and they beat the Phillies, you never know what happens this weekend when we face them as well.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. There's to your point, there's like a lot of like inter wild card hunt matches happening.
Yeah, we
which
kind
is
of
interesting.
got lucky that the whole NL Central is playing the NL West out of nowhere in September.
Yeah, exactly. Which to your point is really useful, because like on any given day, only one of the two can win. And so, and that's kind of where my head's at too, is like, yes, the Marlins have got a bit of a tough run. Obviously, the Dodgers next up. It's going to be tough. There's some distractions around the Dodgers right now. Who knows how they're impacted by that? And frankly, when the Marlins played the Dodgers recently, they should have won that series. They obviously blew up Tony Gonsolin in that one game. He then went to the IL and is having Tommy John. So that was the end of his season, and maybe next season too, for Gonsolin. And then frankly, Yuri Perez probably had the best outing that I've ever seen Yuri Perez have. Robertson ended up blowing that game, which was unfortunate. But, the Marlins, they absolutely had an opportunity to win a series, if not even sweep a series, to be honest with you, in LA, which would have been wild. And so, yes, the Dodgers have been playing some good ball. They're on a bit of a losing streak here, having faced the Braves, and everyone seems to be on a losing streak after facing the Braves. And so this could be a good time to face the Dodgers, maybe. All this kind of distraction off the field. They've just been spanked by the Bravos. They may all of a sudden start to think, the number 1 seed isn't quite there for us. Foot off the gas a touch, see what happens. Could be a good time for the Marlins, maybe.
It's an important series, being at home this time. It sucks that we couldn't use Sandy in this series because we put him in that last game. But, I think depending on who starts in that second game and how good our starters go out this series, I think we can steal, the first one because of everything that's going on. But the goal right here is not to get swept and put our best foot forward in that Philly series.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, the first game going, you've got 2 stud lefties going. You've already mentioned Kershaw. For the Marlins, they've got Luzardo. Interesting, though, the second game, Lance Lynn will be going for the Dodgers. He looks like, as always with the Dodgers, they turn up in LA, and next thing is they're back to being studs. And Lance Lynn, kind of the same, although he got blown up by the Braves last time, but so does everyone. TBD on that one. Then you got Braxton Garrett going in game 3 in that series. A TBD right now for the Dodgers, but maybe that dude we saw last time around, Pepiot or whatever his name may be. So, going to be some familiar faces for the Marlins anyway, if it is Pepiot, and we'll see what happens. Obviously Lance Lynn we didn't see last time around. Let's talk about that shortly, though, in terms of who the number 2 starter may be. But before we do that, it's time to let you know about our good friends over at Sleeper. Yes, sir. Get those graphics pumped. And listen, guys, the MLB playoffs are around the corner, which means the clock is ticking on your chance to 100 times your cash on daily fantasy baseball. Baseball has never been more exciting than it is now, with studs like Acuna, Betts, and Ohtani. Pick more, or less on stats for these stars like home runs, hits, strikeouts, and more for up to 100 times payout on Sleeper. Get your picks right, and you could win big time. All you have to do is use the promo code Locked On. It's all one word, and it is in caps, Locked On, and you'll get up to $100 matched on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. All right. Final segment here.
Maybe I need to use Sleeper for the game 2 of this series to pick Edward Cabrera.
Let's go, Eddie Cabrera. It's loosely reported. It's suggested, but it's unconfirmed. But we're expecting maybe Eddie Cabrera to come into that game 2 start against the Dodgers. Boy, oh boy, it's a tough ask for him. And the Marlins to flex to a 6-man rotation. Seems to be the way they're leaning with this. Cueto back into the rotation as well in the series we've just had. So thoughts on Eddie Cabrera returning? It's definitely been an up and down, more down than up, I would say, season for him. But listen, with all these young arms in this rotation, a 6-man does make a ton of sense. And Eddie Cabrera absolutely makes sense. Just how you feel about this move, if indeed this is the move?
So right now, I think when this series starts, I think we go, 16 games straight? Something like that? 13 or 16 games straight stretch? I think you have to do that, Pete, because this bullpen is already cooked. Like they're on their last limb. They're on their.
We're out of closers as well, brother. We're on our final closer. I know that.
We've ran through 3 closers this year. We've ran through how many arms? Like I think it's the best for everyone, especially our 2 lefties who have been workhorsing for the first time ever, going past all their career highs. Edward, I think it's been up and down from what I've seen loosely in the minors, but I think it was good for him, take a step back, almost how De La Cruz took a little step back last year, and it helped him when he came back. So I feel like him taking a little break from the majors is going to help him when he comes back, if he does on game 2.
I love that comp, by the way. And that's a great point. The way De La Cruz, he went down, came back, and all of a sudden it was September De La Cruz, and he was pretty much an MVP.
He might be back too. He might
be back too.
He might be back,
which would be amazing for sure.
Hopefully it's an October De La Cruz.
Yeah, hopefully. That's what we need. To your point, if De La Cruz is hot, then I know for certain Jesus Sanchez will be hot. So, and I haven't even mentioned him, and we should be mentioning him in this episode, to be honest, because stunning performance through the Nat series. But Jake Burger as well, becoming a huge Marlins fan favorite, I would say. And listen, back-to-back homers for him. He was looking for a 3-home run game. I think he gave it a ride as well at one point. But either way, Jake Burger, he has not been the player I expected based on the scouting report that we all kind of had maybe coming into this. He's been way better than that. And as I sit back and reflect on this trade now, irrespective of what happens with Jake Eder and his career, the Marlins right now have found a power-hitting, decent contact franchise cornerstone at third base. I remember going into this year saying, I don't know what the Marlins are going to be doing at third base for the long term. I can't see anything in the organization right now. I don't know how Kim's done it, but boy, oh boy, this to me looks to be one of the fattest dubs from a trade perspective that I think I've ever seen for the Marlins, to be honest. What about you?
Was he just not trying as a White Sox? Was that what it was?
I don't think anyone was for the White Sox, to be honest.
They told me this guy could not hit consistently. He's batting .250 almost on the season. They said he was slow. He beats out every force out, even with 2 bad Achilles. They told me he couldn't play defense. He's turned into Nolan Arenado from what I've seen, pretty much. Maybe he doesn't get to every ball, but I've never seen him make an error. She cooked. She fleeced. As of right now, she has fleeced the White Sox. And kudos to her for doing that and not getting Lance Lynn for Jake Eder, which would have been crazy. There's nothing else to say. The one thing I will ask if he could change his walk-up song to the Whopper, Whopper, Whopper song, that would be amazing.
It has to be done. It has to be done. That has to be the flex that happens, hopefully, this homestand. I just want to ask you one thing that is topical, I would say, with Mr. Burger. And it's linked to, conscious, and for those watching, they'll see this too, conscious of your own facial hair, etc. But Jake Berger, it's fair to say some are uncertain about the mustache and the kind of vibe, but I kind of like it. I'm not going to lie. Where do you stand on the Jake Berger facial hair situation?
I'm a man of superstition as well. So if it works, it works. Am I a mustache guy? No. But if it works, it works. But I think it's more that he hits for more power on the road for some reason. All his home runs have been on the road, Texas, Dodgers, Nationals. Um, I think maybe when he gets home, maybe it's a little power shy or something. It is what it is. But if he's gonna stick with the mustache thing, then keep doing what you're doing, pal.
Absolutely. I love that too. Yeah. I mean, all these sports guys, everyone's so superstitious. And
I actually got mad because they're talking about it. It's like, well, this at bat, he's not wearing the elbow guard because he doesn't like how it feels. He hit 2 home runs the day before with the elbow guard, and then he strikes out. I'm like, put the elbow guard back on, and then he gets hit.
And then he got hit. Yeah. I was gonna say, Jake Berger, get that elbow guard on. Go with whatever kind of facial hair requirement you have to keep the vibes rolling. What I would say, and for those watching, this is my full facial hair growth, by the way. This is all I've got. This is everything. This is like 10 days growth for me, and there's nothing there. So it is what it is for me. RIP for me. That's been a lot of fun. We are bang out of time. However, what I will ask you before we go, a couple of things briefly. How do you see this Dodgers series actually going? Secondly, do the Marlins make the wild card this year? And then thirdly, talk about the work you're doing as well.
All right. So first one was this series? I think
Dodger series.
It all depends on that second game because I think Mookie has Braxton's number. So I think I'm gonna stay safe. I'm gonna go safe answer. We take that first game. We go 1 of 3. Do we make this wild card? I think so because I think we've done what we've had to in terms of beating all the other teams. We beat the Giants. We have a tie with the Reds. We beat the Cubs. We beat the Diamondbacks. And so that Philly series, pretty much all we have to do is win 2, and we have that season series. So I think we're in a good spot. I think the Cubs are going to do their job and help us out. And so I think we're in a really good spot. I think after that Philly series, we'll know how good we hit because that Braves series is going to be tough, but we don't know how much the Braves are going to be trying at that point. We'll see.
It's a good point.
That Philly series, after that Philly series, we'll pretty much, I think, see how we're going to finish. What was the last question?
Just let everyone know the work you're doing now, mate.
Oh, yeah. So I'm just interning right now for credits in my sports management major for the Fish on First. And thank you, Eli, for giving me this opportunity. And then you can, catch me on my Twitter right there, mvaldez2911. I'll be doing more of the live streams with the guys and maybe some more articles down the road.
Absolutely stunning. Well, it's been great to have you on. First time guest, and I'm sure everyone's absolutely loved it, mate. There's been loads of clips. I'm going to clip loads of this and put it out there. I must say, I think your full assessment of Jake Berger for me was a full standout. That is that's going to be coming to someone's Twitter stream real soon. Guys, it's been a lot of fun, and that has been Locked On Marlins for Monday, the 4th of September. We're going to call it a day there. It's an off day, so I hope you've enjoyed this one on an off day. We'll cheer on all the other clubs that are facing off. I think the Cubs might have actually sealed the dub against the Giants as we've been on, which is a really good start.
Go Cubs, go.
Go Cubs, go. Absolutely. I think the Mariners are taking on the Reds, so I really fancy the Mariners in that one too. So we'll see how those boys go. But thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day, guys. And of course, it is a daily pod. Tomorrow is another day, and there'll be another pod, and I look forward to seeing you then. See you soon, guys.
Bye.